Simon Told Helen wins a half length. Zach Manelli second.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip.
Peaky Blinders start cheering for Tommy Shelby wins the WA Sprint Championship final.
Featuring Peter O'Neill and Leia Ernest.
Mozza moves up to Mermaid Manelli. Fab's Gem 3 deep. Here comes Fab's Gem.
Hardstyle Rico by 5 lengths to Simon Told Helen. Third Tommy Shelby.
This segment is dedicated to the discussion and promotion of greyhound racing.
Cindy's Oliver, Rockstar Patriot, Paul Stewart, back-to-back with Rockstar Patriot in the Galaxy.
Handsome Prince, a bolder clear, the former Tasmanian. Handsome Prince has won the $1 million chase.
A very good morning to everyone tuned into Greyhound Gossip, and as always, a very good morning to you, Peter O'Neill.
Good morning, Leia. Good morning, everyone. Wonderful weekend of greyhound racing. The Group 3 Young Stars Classic taken out by All About Stone for David Hoppy, coming from last on the first corner to be able to get up and score. So that was a remarkable victory over My Anarchy Boy. And, of course, over in Victoria, Leia, we had the running of the two Top Guns. No luck for Elite Machine, who unfortunately injured himself going into the first corner. He'll be off the scene for a little while, so he's out of the Melbourne Cup and also won't be available for the Phoenix. I'd say he won't be racing until the beginning of next year, so that's bad news from a WA point of view. But there's a lot of exciting racing going ahead this weekend with the Melbourne Cup, or the shootout, and also the Melbourne Cup heats the following week, so a lot happening on the East Coast.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. And we had a chat to Corey Smith last week on the show, and he was explaining about, the Phoenix Carnival. There's a lot happening and plenty happening at the Meadows, and there was a lot happening on track in the lead up to the Phoenix as well, so we're very much looking forward to that. We do have a replay here of the Top Gun, Pete.
Racing, good speed in the centre from Launch Code. Pushing forward was Transponder's going to find the front here, and he got clear by 2. Going through to second, Scalacci. From on the outside, Alpha Zulu. Up to fourth was J is J. They've raced clear on the rest. Next in the field, Elite Machine from Launch Code, Transponder. Wow, she's fast, but Transponder's a mile in front here. It's 5 clear. J is J runs to second. Alpha Zulu, Scalacci next, but it's a one-act affair. Transponder wins the Top Gun by 6 lengths over J is J, Alpha Zulu, Scalacci.
And value wins there in both the Top Gun and the Top Gun stayers, Pete, with Transponder taking out the Top Gun.
Yeah, well done to Jason Thompson, first and third in the final, and very emotional win for the Thompson family. Very, very talented chaser, Transponder, who's got some big races ahead over the next month or so. J is J was a huge run from box number 8, and as I mentioned, a few of the other more fancied runners in the field that have been stars. Wow, she's fast, Elite Machine. They found trouble. Big Energy, I thought, was a big run as well. And then earlier on in the night, we had the final of the Top Gun stayers. Ritzer Piper won for Joseph Sherry, the New South Wales greyhound, winning the first of Group 1s, has won over $250,000 in stake money. So that was a little bit of an upset, but a very, very talented chaser. The Melbourne Cup winner, Yachi Bar, won, and also the Hume Cup went to the Lisa Cockerell-trained Hector Fawley. I'm not sure if you caught up with any of the racing.com coverage. Gareth Hall and also George Ferrugia and the team over there did a really good job wall-to-wall coverage of greyhound racing for the whole night.
I wasn't on when the races were on, Pete, but I did see the post-race interview after the Top Gun, and the Thompson kids were very, very emotional, but that's what racing is about, isn't it?
It certainly is, and we had the return to greyhound racing, of course, on Thursday night down at Mandurah. Ryan Levitzke will be joining us shortly to go through his thoughts on the new track and how that's started racing there Thursday and Friday night. But we're turning our attention across to a young trainer who, at his very first attempt, putting on the collar and lead in his own right as a trainer, had success on Wednesday night, and that is Brodie Kirby, who's about to join us later on Greyhound Gossip. Brodie, very good morning to you. Congratulations. Have you come down yet from Cloud 9 after that brilliant victory last week on Wednesday?
Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me on. Not really. It's weird. It reminds me a lot of my riding career. It takes time to sort of soak it in, and you never really do it sometimes. But yeah, look, it was a great thrill to win my first race, it was a weaker maiden, but I did put her in hoping we could pull it off, and thankfully she did.
It was only her second start and your second start as a trainer. Did you think you were going to have a win so early on?
Sorry, was that? I think it was my first start, sorry.
Yeah, first start as a trainer for Canyutilli successful. You looked a little bit nervous. You've handled many dogs for Linda Britton, Chris Holson, also for Andrew McLaren. You looked a little bit nervous there with your own dog on Wednesday night.
Oh, mate, I was petrified. I really was. I was shaking. And then even, I don't know, a lot of people said they can feel your nerves. I didn't help her at all because when I went to box her, she normally goes to back up and I give her a pat and she'll walk forward. And then on the night, she backed up on me and continued to back up, and half her leg was hanging out. I ended up just shutting the boxes and hoping for the best, but thankfully she stepped okay.
And she stepped brilliantly. Can you tell us your emotions after the race? Because you looked a little bit emotional. There might have even been a tear in the eye. Just explain to us what it meant to you.
Oh, it meant a lot. There was a tear in the eye. It was just overwhelming. Maybe a year ago I was lost, didn't know what I was going to do after my riding career, and obviously started work experience with Linda and Chris, and then it's just eventuated from there. So to finally get to the races and to win first up was just crazy, and it's good to know all the hard work is worth it.
A lot of our audience this morning that are in the thoroughbred industry know the name Brodie Kirby. You had a lot of success as a young boy in the saddle. Tell us about that career and how it went off the rails for you, and then how you eventually made it into greyhound racing.
Yeah, I think I started the same way I did with the greyhounds. I did work experience for my boss, and then eventually went to full-time or apprenticeship and went through the process of that and sort of got on the right horses at the right time. And I was lucky enough to get a riding contract offered to me to go to Singapore, but then unfortunately I fell off. I think it was my Geraldton fall I had and broke my collarbone. So then that got put to the side and made a return after that injury, continued to do well, and then got a contract to go to Gay Waterhouse. But once I was over there, it wasn't for me. I'm a bit of a homebody, so I wanted to get back home, and I don't regret that decision at all. To the day, I was so glad I come home because I came back and I kicked a lot of goals, so I was stoked to do that. And unfortunately, I had a track work fall and wasn't cleared by doctors to return. So then we had to think of something else I wanted to do. And in the back of my mind, even as a kid, I always wanted to be a greyhound trainer, but it wasn't until it was a sort of a semi-retirement plan. But now it's going to be a full-time job.
Can you explain, the depths that you got to, and how you mentioned before that you were a little bit lost before you found your way to Linda and Chris's property? Can you explain that to our listeners or not?
Yeah, well, I was obviously going through the doctor's process. A couple of doctors that I thought said that I was no chance of getting back, and for a good 2 years I sort of just ignored them. I thought, no, I know better. I want to get back. I just kept persisting, harassing the doctors to get other opinions. But after 2 years of trying, being sort of knocked back, it sort of hit me that I'm not going to be able to do what I loved. And I had to sort of figure out what I'm going to do. And, for that period, after that 2 years, for the good year there, I was sitting there just not knowing what I could do. I mean, the option to go to thoroughbred training was there, but that's a very high-pressure industry, and, I never coped well with high-pressure situations myself. So I thought the dogs are a bit more laid back, in my opinion, and I sort of had the money to the side to be able to invest and buy a couple of dogs that I can train myself without having the pressure of owners. So it was sort of a low-pressure situation I thought I could handle, and, I'm enjoying it. I love the dogs and, really enjoying it.
Well, Brodie, it's fortunate that it's turned out this way and that you're really loving the greyhounds. There have been a few people that have contributed to your journey so far. Of course, we've mentioned Chris and Linda, but can you tell us who the others are and the roles that they played?
Linda and Chris have been huge, and, they've done so much for me just throughout the whole period. I didn't really even want to, for ages, they were telling me, apply for your trainers, and I didn't want to be honest. I was just so nervous, and they sort of pressured me into getting it and told me they'll be there to guide me and help me throughout. So they've just been a big influence. Even the property I'm in, Linda was a big help and was able to sort me that out and get me a rental. So they've been huge. Obviously, Andrew McLaren's got my 2 dogs, and I was obviously going to trials and helping him, and he was giving me a lot of advice and tips. So he's been a big part as well. But there's been a lot of trainers in the industry that have been good to me and been happy to lend advice, and even Eric Campana, the dogs 2 pups that I've got were a bit naughty in the boxes, so I took him there and he helped me with their box work. So it's just been the whole industry. Everyone's been great to me and welcomed me, so it's been a good ride so far.
Yeah, we're very lucky in the industry to have such supporting people. And you mentioned earlier on that, you had some money aside to purchase your first greyhounds. What was that like for you in the hunt for your first racing greyhounds?
Well, I actually got my first one. It was a dog we named Miss Valentine. She had an injury, so I actually moved her on. And I had that with a couple of mates. But, yeah, I had a bit of money there, so I bought Kenya Mia. They'd been trialling over east just after break-in. And then her sister actually come to the market, I think, about 4 or 5 months later. And she'd been trialling a bit quicker than her, so I thought I'd buy her as well. And they've just been wonderful dogs. I've been really lucky to have them, and I'm still enjoying the ride today. I think Kenya Mia might be going to the heats of the Mandurah Cup. I think they're on Friday. I'm not too sure. But
they are, yeah, Friday night. Gemma Jovanovic has been by your side as well, so you must have enjoyed that together because she's been a big help to a number of trainers. She's got some experience while she's only young. I'm sure she's been able to give you some advice as well along the way.
She's been wonderful, a huge help, and yeah, she's got a lot of knowledge, and she's always at home on her days off helping the dogs. She doesn't need to, but she chooses to, and especially with things before I go to Linda, I can run them by Gemma, and she gives her opinion as well. But yeah, she's a very, very hard-working girl, and I've got a lot of respect for her.
I spoke with Justin Warwick on Saturday night, Leia. He was very disappointed last week that we didn't have a greyhound gossip when I was down south. He said he doesn't normally tune in, but he wanted to tune in to see whether we mentioned Couch Surfer and also King Tommy. So if you're listening this morning, Justin, good morning. And I spoke with Justin on Saturday, Brodie, and he was very impressed. You've met him, and he was very impressed with what you've been able to do so far and the work that you're putting in. He said he wouldn't even mind sending a greyhound to you to train. Would you be prepared to train for other people?
I think someone like Justin I really could see myself training for, obviously, with that connection with Linda, and obviously Linda's helping guide me. So I think that could work, and I probably owe Justin a winner because I don't think I rode one for him at the Thoroughbreds. I think I actually butchered a couple of horses. So, yeah, I probably do owe him a winner.
What would you prefer, the thrill of riding in a Perth Cup or the thrill of training a Perth Cup winner?
Well, I think
greyhounds?
My passion has moved now. So, look, I'm going to say greyhounds because that's the way I'm heading, but Perth Cup and the Thoroughbreds would have been great too. But, no, I'm fully committed to what I'm doing now and very motivated to do well.
Good on you, Brodie. I've spoken to a lot of people in the industry that have been behind you and helped you along the way, and they've said you've worked tirelessly, worked really hard. You've been able to turn your life around and have that success with your first runner there on Wednesday night. Let's hope you have plenty more. Good luck in the future.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you around the track, and thanks for having me on.
Good on you, Brodie Kirby, joining us, and a young trainer, and to be able to have success so early on. He's done really, really well, but he has worked very, very hard, and he's listened to some people that have been able to give him some advice along the way. So well done to him. And yeah, Couch Surfer was an impressive winner there on Saturday night. Was able to salute in the free fall over the 715 metres. The integrity department decided, along with the track staff, because of the turnaround last year, Leia, when we moved or the closure of Northam and went to back to Cannington, a lot of greyhounds had injuries. So what they wanted to do, the stewards and the track staff, was make the track safer by putting more moisture onto the track. And then, therefore, we saw slower times there on Saturday night. But one time that wasn't slow was that of King Tommy, 34.50. And if you compare that to the other times that they were going on the night, I think it was off probably 0.3 of a second. So you're bringing it down to 34.20, which is close to Mambo Manelli's 34.11 track record. So that was a really, really good run there on Saturday night. Speaking of tracks and new conditions, that was what we saw on Thursday and Friday night, and Ryan Levitzke called the first meeting there on Thursday. He discussed with our listeners on Friday on Chasing Winners, Leia, his thoughts on the track. He would have seen the races there on Friday night, or at least the replays, and he's joining us now on Greyhound Gossip. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Yeah, I was watching live in a Bunbury hotel. Actually got the quaddie on Friday night, so yep, I'm loving Mandurah.
What did you think of the first race over the 600 metres?
Yeah, it was good. It was good, I thought. Yep. Obviously we can't see the start, but I used to call the Geraldton Gallops, and the first 200 of 1,400 metre races were completely obscured between trees and the golf course. So, calling won't be much of an issue. After about 2 seconds, they're all in view, and the crowd love it. And as you know, Friday nights at Mandurah are extremely well attended.
We've got the new distances, so we've got the old track records, they stand, and we'll have new track records going forward now over the 300, 400, 488 metres, and also the 652. You mentioned the 652. What are the differences besides the distances that you noticed there on Thursday?
Well, I think there's going to be less flukes, less greyhounds that fluke wins, which are much easier to do at Cannington. There's obviously more mustering room from the 400 compared to the 380, which is cutthroat. 3 or 4 dogs in a full field over 380 are basically put out of winning the race after the first 10 metres. So I think the cream will rise to the top more. A lot of these David Hobby dogs that are just fast, simply fast, at Cannington they can often flash home for third or fourth, but at Mandurah I think they'll be able to lose 5 or 6 lengths in interference and still win.
And Ryan, you touch on interference, and Pete also mentioned before that a huge part of renovating the Mandurah track was the welfare of the greyhounds. Did you find, in terms of calling all the races there the other day, that this has been a huge difference?
Well, I think so, but it's probably a little bit too early to make those calls. Give it a few weeks, let the sand compact a bit more, and because I think there was only 2 weeks of trialling before that Thursday meeting from last week, so a bit early to tell, but it looked good to me.
And the fact that Racing and Wagering WA, along with Greyhounds WA, I think it was around $8 million that they spent, and they did the build through winter. They've done a remarkable job to keep it on track and to have it open when they advertised.
Oh, absolutely, Pete. Yeah, I was keeping tabs on it. My kids go to school very close to there, so I'd often leave a little bit earlier and just have a look. And yeah, they did a fantastic job. They were always, there were always 7 or 8 blokes running around, and it looks fantastic. And I'm looking forward to Friday nights, Pete, because before Mandurah closed, often by race 2 or 3, there was nowhere to park. So I'm not sure whether it's a case of there's not much to do around Mandurah, but Friday nights is just, it's a culture down here in the Peel.
Is it new sand that we've got there? Because it seemed a little bit darker, even though the lights were a lot brighter.
Yeah, I read something on the Greyhound Recorder saying that it's the same sand that's used at most of the Victorian circuits.
Okay.
I think it starts with B, the name of the sand, Burrumbar or
Burrumbeat sand, that they use in Victoria. Okay, and the lights look a lot brighter as well?
Yeah, they sure do. There's a couple of temporary lights fixed on parts of the track that were a bit shadowy, but everything will get ironed out over the next few weeks, things like that. In front of the 400 metre boxes, I thought it was a bit dark on the AstroTurf in front of boxes 7 and 8, but all of these little things will get ironed out over the next few weeks.
Ryan, maybe you can jog my memory, but was there a new lure system implemented as well?
I think it's the one that's been used at Cannington, so that's quite new. So, yes and no, Leia. It's that system that's been used at Cannington. But, I think it's been in for about a year or so, Pete, I think.
Yeah, it has, and it works well, and up at Northam as well. Mandurah Cup Heats this week, you must be excited. So the track opens and we get straight into some of the bigger races for the Peel region.
Yeah, well, looking back at the Mandurah Cup, you know, that 490-metre start point, historically, it's just been such an advantage to be drawn inside. When you've got 8 of the best sprinters and it's a bend start and they all jump and they're all flying, it's such an advantage. I remember Keith Harding winning one Mandurah Cup with, Living Image, it might be, the name of the dog. And I remember it just stuck to the fence, held everything out. And, looking back, there's a lot of box 1 winners or dogs that run second. So maybe with these boxes, I've only seen the one race over 488, called one on Thursday. Maybe the outside greyhounds will be brought into it a little bit more. I have noticed that just looking at the results, we've had 32 races at Mandurah so far, and only 2 greyhounds have started. 2 winners have started over $8 fixed odds. So a lot of favourites have been winning, and it could be just a case of cream rising to the top a little bit more.
Yeah, now it's interesting, the 405-metre distance has been shortened. They went 22:37, so you mentioned the compaction of the sand, which will take, 2 or 3 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks before we see some quicker times. But Kenya Cruz still holds the old 405-metre mark at 22:03, and Zach Manelli registered at 27:02 over the 490. And Zach Manelli actually was the sire Leia of All About Stone, who won the Young Stars Classic. So the track record holder has the Young Star winner there on Saturday night. How are your dogs going, Ryan?
My dogs are going quite well. I'm a third in a litter out of Manjagorda that are about to hit the track, and they're going to be quite disappointing. So I'm a little bit flat about that, and poor old Eric's going to, he'll do his best with them. So keep an eye out for them. They're all named after Indigenous things. So, out of Manjagorda. So, that's a bit disappointing, but quite a few of the speedsters with Natalie Marshall and Brad Cook are going well. Key Moment's just been fantastic. And Jacopo, he was a cheap buy, and he's probably my favourite dog, to be honest.
Well, we'll keep an eye on them, Ryan. Before we let you go, for those avid listeners of Chasing Winners, I actually missed last week's episode, but how has the new Greyhound track affected doing the form, or has it not really had that much of an effect?
Like I said, I might stray from tipping inside dogs in the Mandurah Cup heats a little bit more and look for the superior greyhounds. So, it's probably a little bit early. I'll tell you one thing, Leia. There's a dog that Sean's got, Sean Kavanagh, still a maiden, racing tomorrow night, Mazuma Mayhem. 380 did not suit. Takes a couple of strides to get going. 520 was too far to get out in front and just completely capitulate. 400 metres for Mazuma Mayhem is going to be perfect. So I haven't really looked at the other dogs in the race. I see David Hobby's got one in box 1, a Sunset dog. But Mazuma Mayhem could come out and win 5 or 6 on the trot at Mandurah. So just keep an eye out for it. It's in race 2 tomorrow night from box 3.
Wonderful. So we've got a hot tip here on Greyhound Gossip this morning from the Ryan Levitzke, Peter O'Neill. Yep,
looking forward to that. Looking forward to the coverage, and on Friday night of the Mandurah Cup, Ryan will be speaking with you on Friday morning on Chasing Winners. Enjoy your day.
Looking forward to it. See you guys.
So that's Ryan Levitzke, and great to have Mandurah back as well, and well done to all concerned that worked tirelessly to be able to get that track back up and running. It was certainly missed by many. Northern did a wonderful job during the winter months, and Northern will be back again next year, and looking forward to going back to a more standard regular program. So the Monday, Wednesday and Saturday at Cannington, some Sundays, and then the Mandurah down there on Tuesday, Thursday and Friday.
All right, so it's back to the alternating Sundays with Cannington and Mandurah.
So Mandurah there yesterday, but Cannington tonight, the first race there tonight, getting underway at 11 minutes past 6.
Wonderful. Thank you for your company, Pete. We'll be back soon with Race Day.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.